Welcome to the Research Culture Uncovered podcast, where in every episode we explore what is research culture and what should it be. You'll hear thoughts and opinions from a range of contributors to help you change research culture into what you want it to be.
Hello, I'm Tony Bromley and I'm your host for Season 2 of the Research Culture Uncovered podcast. What I wanted to do here was to give you a trailer, an introduction to Season 2, so you have got some idea what's going to happen in Season 2, and hopefully we can encourage you to listen to the podcasts that we have upcoming across the season. So Season 2 is based on the Researcher Education and Development Scholarship Conference of 2022, and we will be in conversation with a number of presenters. We have 11 presenters in total who we will be talking to about a range of research culture aspects that came across from their presentations at the conference. The conference itself had the theme, How Do We Stop Losing Talent in Research Careers? Now, just a little bit of context about the conference. I realise you may not know the conference. So it is called REDS, and that acronym is the Researcher Education and Development Scholarship Conference. It's an international conference. It's for people who are interested in scholarship relating to research, education and development. It's been going since 2015 when Dr. Kay Guccione started the conference when she was then at the University of Sheffield. So a big shout out for Kay for starting this conference now in its 8th iteration. The conference, it's hosted annually, it's online, it's free to attend, it's hosted by the University of Leeds and the Research Development and Culture team of the University of Leeds, and I'm one of those members of that team, as are a number of my colleagues on this podcast who are hosting other podcasts. So that's a little bit about the conference, a little bit about the theme of the conference, how do we stop losing talent in research careers. And I want to go on to the episodes for you to expect as we go through the season. We will be releasing one on a weekly basis. On a Wednesday we will release the next podcast episode. So here's the 11 podcasts, and see which ones that you want to earmark to listen to. Of course, we'd like you to listen to all of them. The first one will be on the 23rd of November, where we're in conversation with Professor Louise Owusu-Kwoateng, who is at the University of Greenwich, and she was our keynote presenter at the conference. Her conference topic was Our Expertise is Going to Waste, Reflections on Disengagement of Women and Students from Marginalised Groups in Research Activity. Now, it was a terrific presentation that covered all sorts of aspects of research culture, so of course I would really encourage you to listen to the podcast. But in particular, Louise had 3 questions that she was trying to address and form the basis of our conversation. So firstly, she was looking at how do we redress the balance to ensure that there is equality in terms of opportunities for research. Secondly, she questioned, do we need to relook at what counts as an expert in HE and also reconsider what is seen as valuable work in this context? And then with regards to students from marginalised groups, how do we reframe the narratives which assume they're under attainment? Do initiatives aimed at addressing the attainment issue need to go wider and include opportunities for research? And what role can mentorship play from undergraduate level and beyond? So that's the 23rd of November. That's Professor Louise Owusu-Kwoateng, who is our keynote speaker from the REDS 2022 conference. And now I'll run into the other podcasts that we have lined up for you. So the 30th of November will be the next release. I'll be talking with Katie Nicole Baines from the Institute for Academic Development up at the University of Edinburgh. And the key cultural points that we talk about, research cultural points, there are about problems of equality, diversity and inclusion in the STEM, the science, technology, engineering and maths careers and subjects and disciplines. Katie will be talking about the funded research project she did where they were tackling about the retention of precariously employed staff, and this is a real common aspect of research culture across the board at universities, and also the aspect of the equality and diversity aspect where the intention was to recruit 50% women and 20% black and minority ethnic fellows as part of this funded 10-year track research funded programme that we will be in discussion with Katie about. So that's the 30th of November with Katie Nicole Baines from University of Edinburgh. We then move to the 7th of December release, and that will be Tanveer Ahmed, and he is from University of Coventry. An interesting conversation with Tanveer. He's gone for a really individualised approach in terms of retaining talented researchers, and this is an individualised coaching-led approach to doing that, where you empower people to take ownership of their development and create strategies to be the researchers that they want to be. So interesting conversation. You may be interested in implementing something similar in your own organisation. So that's Tanveer Ahmed on the 7th of December. On the 14th of December, we talked to a couple of colleagues from Argentina, and it's about virtual writing groups, but it's about how virtual writing groups can really tackle positively that aspect of research culture, which is very common among particularly doctoral researchers, that aspect of loneliness and feeling in isolation during your doctorate. They've been running virtual writing groups for many years, and they find that they really do begin to tackle loneliness and isolation in a really positive way. And actually a number of other research culture aspects come out from that. So that is on the 14th of December. We're talking to Paula and Laura from Argentina about their virtual writing groups. Then we move to the 21st of December, where I'll be talking to Anna Maria Carusi. Another interesting project, the particular research culture aspect here, although we cover a number of things, particularly it's the student-supervisor relationship. And what's really interesting here is Anna Maria describes their work with 23 Wellcome, which is a big research funder in the UK, 23 Wellcome funded PhD training programs, where the funder didn't just want excellent scientific research as part of the proposals for funding, as you'd expect, but they also asked people in their proposals to make positive commitment to research culture, and those proposals were also assessed in terms of the research culture aspects and commitment. So a really interesting conversation with Anna Maria and her findings on that one. That'll be the 21st of December. Moving on to 28th of December, we will be talking with Richard Hall from De Montfort University, and we'll be talking about decolonising postgraduate research. And it'll be what he's learned from the decolonising project at his institution, De Montfort. But really interesting, again, there's a lot of work that has gone on at the undergraduate and postgraduate taught level, but actually the work on decolonising at the postgraduate research level has been less the case. So really interesting conversation, and a much more wide-ranging conversation than I personally would expected when we started talking about decolonising. So it was really enlightening to speak to Richard on that one. So that's the 28th of December, Richard Hall and decolonising postgraduate research. Then we move to the 4th of January, and I will be speaking with Jawira Nassim from the University of Birmingham. She's representing a group of researchers who did this work. They talked about the academic unbelonging and the neoliberal university, and they did a comparative institutional case study of doctoral researchers' experiences at 2 English universities. A really interesting conversation about the neoliberal policy context, and also how that conflicts with traditional educational values and how that can contribute negatively to research culture in general. It also, one aspect that surprised me in that conversation is when you talk about belonging, I had the assumption that all postgraduate researchers want a really strong sense of identity and belonging to their institution, but actually you can find researchers who have senses of belonging in other aspects of their lives and not necessarily looking for that belonging aspect within the university context. So a really interesting conversation with Jurira, and that's the 4th of January when we will be releasing that one. Next, we move to the 11th of January, and there's only a few of these for me left to describe. This is the 8th one in my list of 11. Speaking to colleagues from Sweden, so Åsa and Anne, and their title of their presentation at the conference and what we will be discussing, they had a title of "Screwed from the Start: How Women Perceive Opportunities and Barriers for Building a Successful Research Career." So in this one, we will be looking at progression of women in research careers as our key research culture aspect of this discussion. And the research is really interesting on this, and also Anna described the research. But the research shows that the resource allocation decisions in academia are biased in favour of men. Interesting, the outcome of their work, they did talk about the possibilities to improve the possibilities for women early career researchers. So an interesting one about the barriers and progression of women in research careers from Åsa and Anne on the 11th of January. We will be releasing that one. On the 18th of January, we will be talking to colleagues Kate Jones and Rachel Handforth from VTI, the UK organisation VTI. We'll be talking about the leaky pipeline and who loses out. It's a really interesting conversation about the metaphor leaky pipeline. We'll talk about people leaving the research pipeline and why they leave that pipeline. The reasons can be many reasons, but inclusive, unhealthy research cultures can be a reason that people leave academia and leave research careers. And we'll be challenging and thinking about what impact this may have on academic research itself and the intended outcomes of the research and those who are going to benefit from the research. So that's the leaky pipeline, who loses out. We'll be speaking with Kate Jones and Rachel Handforth on the 18th of January. That leaves me with a couple more to tell you about. So the last two, firstly, 25th of January, this is talking with Sean Vaughan and supporting the jugglers, the challenges and barriers for academics in creative disciplines becoming research active. So it really is common research cultural aspect in academia that people struggle with the demands across teaching and research. In the creative disciplines, there's also the possibility that people are trying to keep going a professional creative practice on top of the research and the teaching. So we discuss this, we discuss the barriers, and we discuss how we potentially can support people who are trying to have that three-pronged aspects to their career. So that is the 25th of January that we'll be talking about that in that podcast. Finally, we speak to Cecile Menard from the 1st of February. That's the release date for this one. And very common, again, research cultural aspect that we'll tackle here. It's the long-term, fixed-term contracts for researchers. So Cecile has done a multi-institutional investigation into the personal and professional circumstances behind the career path of long-term researchers, and we can look at recommendations that universities create research-only career progressions, and we'll be discussing the outcomes and thinking around that and the outcomes of the research. So that's the final episode of season 2 of the Research Culture Uncovered podcast, and that will be released on 1st of February. So thank you for listening to this run through of the episodes to expect, and hopefully we've whetted your appetite, and I hope there's a number of podcasts that you're looking forward to listening to when we get there. And going back to the beginning, we will be releasing the first episode, our keynote speaker, Professor Louise Owusu-Kwarteng, on the 23rd of November. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to you joining us for season 2 of the podcast Research Culture Uncovered. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Research Culture Uncovered podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on our brand new episodes. And if you're enjoying the discussions, give us some love by dropping a 5-star rating and written review, as it helps other research culturists find us. And please share with a friend and show them how to subscribe. Email us at academicdev@leeds.ac.uk. Thanks for listening, and here's to you and your research culture.